Yeah, awesome. So this podcast is about your journey in music, how you got to where you are now, and your new project, Quarter Life Crisis. I want to talk to you about that. I know you've done a lot of work in the production DJ world, but this is I did read your bio and you said this is kind of going back to your roots, and I'm really intrigued to hear about that. So thanks for doing this.
Of course. Yeah. My pleasure.
So you're from Canada. Tell me where you grew up.
Yeah. I grew up in Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's on the East Coast. I was born and raised there, lived there till I finished kind of university. Technically didn't finish, but I have like a half credit left. So
oh my gosh, a half credit? Why not just get it?
It was kind of a really frustrating situation where I thought I did everything that was required for my degree. And then they let me know like 8 months before like graduation, like, oh, you need one more credit. And my year was planned out already. I already had my courses and everything. So, and then at that point, I don't know, I was like, it was coming close to the end of the year and I was starting to get some show offers and stuff. And I was like, fuck it.
There you go.
So, I mean, in retrospect, like, cause now I'm like, God damn, I don't ever want to go and like do one more bird course online or something. Like,
maybe pay somebody on like Fiverr to take it for you.
Wow, that's actually a great idea. And it also reached a point where I was like, can I like hit them up and be like, hey, I am a kind of successful musician now. Like, do you want me to like do a thing for you and just pay me through a credit?
Right. Can I come speak to your school and you can just graduate me?
Yeah, maybe I don't have that clout level though, unfortunately.
Soon enough. So you went to college, you didn't finish, but how did your musical journey start?
I guess the most probably I started playing guitar. I got my first guitar when I was like 13-ish and got that from my aunt. And that was like a really sweet birthday present to get for sure. And I had an older cousin that was in like a bunch of bands at the time. And he's like 10-ish years older than me. So that was kind of just like, the cool cousin that I looked up to. And he would come by and like kind of teach me some stuff. And I had a few family members like in that way, but I have two older brothers, but they're kind of not into music at all in the way that, I ended up. So it was kind of nice to have extended family, like, to look up to and kind of, steal CDs from when I'm a kid and that kind of stuff and guide me in the right way, I think. That was kind of how it started. Just like, like grade 7, I guess, going home and playing guitar and learning tabs for like Foo Fighters songs
Ultimate
and Silverchair.
Tab.
Exactly.
I have a quick question about the guitar. So you said your aunt gave it to you. Is her son your cousin that plays in the bands?
No, other side of the family. It was just unrelated, but it's kind of weirdly worked out that way.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So you're doing guitar tabs, Foo Fighters, Silverchair.
It kind of sums it up, like that era. Like, I think the first song I learned on guitar was All My Life by Foo Fighters. That was like the year that album came out. That was the taste at the time. And, I can definitely go back to that stuff. But at the time it was for sure like that. And like, Green Day and kind of like, I was at that age still where you could like, you were excited to go like save up and buy a CD and stuff. So I would usually get like the cheapest ones, which were like, the Green Day albums that people weren't as excited about, or like Nirvana bootlegs and stuff like that. Just whatever I could like bring home and have as like my own thing.
That's awesome. And you're talking about getting guitar 7th grade-ish. Were you, aside from the tabs, were you trying to like, when did you start playing? Did you start playing with people? I did see on your bio that you kind of steered away from the singing aspect of it to kind of go more electronic.
Yeah. Well, actually at first I was trying to like, be a singer songwriter type person. But definitely like never fully had like the confidence align to make that a thing that I could like really pursue properly. But I mean, grade 9 talent show, me and a couple of buddies, we like formed a temporary band to play 2 Blink-182 songs. And
cool.
yeah, I sang the Mark Hoppus parts for the song. So that was probably like the closest I got to like being on stage, being that kind of artist in a way. I think,
what Blink songs did you do?
Stay Together for the Kids and Damn It.
Okay, cool. Oh, then you had to sing a whole song if you're doing Mark.
Yeah. It was definitely not good, but some people were standing up for it, and
that's
kids,
cool.
I mean, at the time. So
yeah. That's awesome. So from the talent show, you got a group of kids together. Did you guys keep playing from there?
Or was a little bit
after that?
Yeah, no, I don't know why. I feel like somehow it sort of like started and ended there with those guys. Okay. Maybe it wasn't enough of a morale boost after the show, but yeah, I found definitely a few different groups of friends that I played with in high school and stuff. But at the same time, I was just like going home and recording myself on my laptop, like my brother's old, like broken down laptop, and like using like a broke like headset microphone to record everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it sounded terrible, but it was definitely a good way to like learn just how to like layer stuff and like mix stuff, which I wasn't really doing, well at all at the time, but just getting the fundamentals down to understand that stuff. That was kind of the crash course that I gave myself. I think as a separation from like playing with the band, I realized I was like enjoying the me time more. So sure. I kind of started like focusing on that more.
On the singer-songwriter end of it, or just kind of getting used to writing, or just getting used to using the programs, essentially.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think just over time, like realizing I kind of just enjoyed like putting my head down and like making the production of a song, which I didn't really like realize fully that's what I was trying to do at the time. But yeah, I was doing that and finding acapellas and making sort of remixes. And eventually I kind of just realized like, oh, I like doing the music production part and not worrying like at all about like the vocals or writing that kind of stuff.
Cool. And then how did you continue with that though? Like, did you finding acapellas and just practicing that way? Like, how did you break into the
I would
world?
say like remixing stuff was sort of, again, a crash course for like working with people in that way. Like I would kind of form my remixes around an acapella, like just have the acapella and then like find samples or play guitar or whatever it was and like sample that. And I started to realize as well that was maybe the thing I enjoyed the most was the sampling process also. And then just building up this, big folder of drum sounds and everything that I was collecting over time. And that it was that for a while. And then once I was in university, I still wasn't finding like vocalists to work with in person, but I started reaching out to rappers like in the Bay Area and kind of all over, just whoever's like contacts that I could find through like MySpace and the beginning of SoundCloud then.
Okay. And you just like cold reach out to somebody and say, hey, like you want to
pretty much.
Do a verse on this song and kind of come up with.
Yeah. And kind of same, and kind of when I was joining Twitter and stuff, like this sounds like so old now, like ancient history, but like early Twitter days and stuff, just like hitting up people and DMing them and being like, hey, I'm a fan if you ever need any beats or whatever. And like 9 times out of 10 never getting a response, but then someone would be like, oh yeah, sure, send me something. So it's kind of like a slow growth process like that, but it started, I guess, snowballing over time.
And then was that like, how did that turn into like your first record?
I guess it was always sort of in that way where I was like making a ton of stuff on my own every day and hitting people up. And then, I don't know, I think things started escalating when I did like a Frank Ocean, like just a bootleg remix kind of thing. And that got on like the fader. And
Wow.
I was in university at that time still. So I was like sitting in class looking at my computer and like saw the fader post go up. And that's when I was like, oh, I don't need another credit to finish.
For sure, right?
That's when, you know, like blogs were
still
still
the computer and get up and walk out of class.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I showed everyone. They were like, whoa, what? Like they actually, this is the song you worked on? Like, I think everybody was like kind of surprised by that. I was taking like journalism at the time as well. So it was sort of like separate from, you know, what I
major. Yeah.
Well, yeah, what I was really passionate about. Journalism was sort of the way like, oh, if music doesn't work, I'll just like write about music or whatever. And, you know, in that way. But yeah, I would say for my first project, like my first proper album was Guilt Trips, which came out on Last Gang. So I feel like I was just, making a lot of stuff and putting stuff out constantly on like SoundCloud and honestly just like on a download link on Twitter, just like, hey, here's a new song. Like it's kind of funny to think now. It's just like the accessibility that we had like 10 years ago was really amazing. Like everybody would just like, the community was so, it felt like so connected in a way. Whereas now it's like, obviously through streaming platforms and everything, you kind of have to like work through all of these corporations and playlists and gatekeepers that decide whether you're seen or not.
Right.
But at that time, it was really just like slowly just growing a little fan base, and then one person shares it and another, and just from there, it just started taking off.
Wow. And with the first record on Last Gang Records, how did they contact you? Was it just because of the fader write up and the internet kind of buzz you had?
I would have to guess so. Because like, I was putting out a lot of those remixes, started getting show offers, and like I hadn't played shows. I didn't really know what my thing was in that capacity, like how to make it a live experience in any way.
Yeah.
I was like, I guess
I'm
gonna, I don't know. I ended up like using Ableton for my sets. I was like, I guess I'm gonna like DJ, because like the type of music that I'm doing, it's sort of the logical next step for making it a live experience is DJing.
Sure.
So I found kind of a middle ground, I guess, of like, I was doing that, but with Ableton for my sets, I was kind of starting to remix stuff live a little bit with my controller and everything that I had. So I would sort of like start getting booked for shows and like think about a set, and it would end up being like, you know, maybe 80-90% of my own stuff, and then other rap songs or whatever that I was enjoying at the time, and finding ways to you know, if I was finding acapellas or whatever, like I would just like be able to jump from one clip to another and like sort of mesh it all together into like a live mashup remix kind of set. Which kind of sounds like lame explaining it right now, but
no, I
think it was.
I mean, I get what you're saying. You're doing mashups and then also playing records and submitting. I mean, spinning obviously the stuff that you were working on.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of how it was starting to happen. I was getting like Pop Montreal and like North by Northeast in Toronto offers for those kind of shows. So that's kind of how I would say around 2012, I was like kind of, okay, I'm ready to like get out of Halifax, and eventually like moved to Ottawa briefly and then moved to Toronto. And once I was in Toronto, I started working with my manager there, who was actually from Halifax originally anyway.
Oh, wow.
So from there, it was just sort of saying yes to everything more or less. And, you know, whether it was like a tiny bar or whatever it was, it just sort of, the schedule started filling up, which was amazing. And I was just sort of like going with it in that way. And then I think I was all at the same time kind of making my own kind of instrumental stuff. And I was like, maybe I can make like an album. Like I have more than enough stuff. And I wanted to just sort of make it a balance of that and, you know, an attempt to show, I can also like make normal structured songs, but like use weird samples and stuff like that and work with vocalists. So yeah, I started some of the process, like with the song that I did with Tinashe on that project,
Mm-hmm.
was originally like I did a remix for her. Her A&R had reached out, and that was, I was like, yeah, I'm a fan already. The project that she did was really great. So I did that, and then I was like, hey, can we like do a trade? Like, can I send you guys some instrumentals, and maybe if she likes something, see what happens. And that all came together really easily somehow.
That's
And
cool.
then yeah, she
was
like
just like, yeah, sure, why not?
pretty much, yeah. She's always been like super open-minded. Like I still talk to her a fair amount, and that's just like a really lucky like kind of person that I met early on in the game that was already like signed pretty much to like
Established.
major. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So outside of that, there was a few, different artists that I was already kind of just becoming friends with, whether it's through shows or whatever. And that's kind of how that album kind of
Came to
formed.
be.
Yeah.
Wow. And then now you have you've done the DJ production, electronic world for a long time, up
Yeah.
until what Elsewhere was your last, like, most recent record as far as like
Yeah.
a full studio album. And now you went kind of back to your roots as far as what I was reading. I want to hear a lot about the Quarter Life Crisis and your new project you got going on now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was deciding this before COVID and everything, obviously. Like it was an idea I'd had for a few years, and I was actually, it kind of all happened separately, but I, like 5-ish years ago, I was emailing with someone at Saddle Creek and talking about this idea for a project. And sorry. Hey. Thanks very much. I got a snack.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah. So I was, sorry, I forget where I was at.
Oh, you said you reached out to Saddle Creek about this
Yeah.
project.
Yeah. So I was talking to him, I was like, yeah, I do this kind of work already where I'm producing for, different artists all kind of within one project. It would be crazy someday if we did that, like in kind of your world, like the indie rock sphere that I'm not really a part of, but have always been kind of a fan of and influenced by, for sure. And I was like, oh yeah, that would be cool. And then sort of, 5 years passed or whatever. And I was like, I need to do something different. And I was, reaching a point where I really wanted to bring like guitar back into my stuff. And it was always sort of, I wanted to do that, but for a number of reasons, mainly like I couldn't make it like sound good with what I was making over like the last like 7 years or whatever. Just like the way I was mixing it, I was like, I don't know, it sounds like kind of cheesy because I'm still like very much using like rap drums and like these different sounds. I couldn't find that middle ground. But I think that ended up like catching up to me in like pop culture, because like I started noticing like in so much rap music, like people are using guitars now and making like emo rap and stuff like that. So
oh yeah, it's huge.
yeah, that sort of like worked out. And I was like, well, it seems like everyone's down with anything now. So yeah. I was a little less, like self-conscious of trying this idea. And then, like it all kind of started coming together pretty easily. And I was like, maybe I should have started this actually like 5 years ago, but I'm stoked that it's kind of working right now.
Yeah, I checked out the whole record. It's awesome. And you have like a different vocalist on every song. Is that kind of how you worked it out? And how did you find who's going to be on the record? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was I guess so. Yeah, I always for making music, it's not just like in a vacuum. I like to like make stuff and not interact with anyone. Like part of the fun and what makes me really happy, I realized, was just like hitting people up and like interacting with them and being like, getting to know them and like, what are you into? And then trying to like find this middle ground between where you're coming from and what they do and what maybe you see them possible, like as potential for their next project or something like that. So this seemed like kind of a really fun way to just like jump in completely, like with all these different artists that I didn't really know before. Like 2 years ago, I just started to hit people up again, kind of like I was originally
Yeah.
when
Like
I
Twitter
started out.
DMs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, and which is kind of a little more like, I don't know. I thought I was going to be like a bit more embarrassed to like do that again, like sort of going back to square one, but it was kind of nice because the reactions that I got were pretty much all like positive, and everyone was like, yeah, let's like try to make a song. Like I'm luckily, like a lot of them were like, yeah, I know your stuff, like, or I like your stuff, I'm a fan already or whatever. So that was definitely kind of a bit of trust was like already on my side, which is a big part of collaborating with anyone new.
Yeah, for sure. And with the songs, like for example, the first song on the record, Waterfall, you have Charlie Martin on it. And was that a song
Mhm.
that you like how much collaboration was done? Like, is it like you have the whole song like idea out with like lyrics and chords and everything, and then that and then he or then whoever you had on the song would come in and sing, or how did that work?
Yeah, well, each one is probably a little different, but for the
Oh,
most
okay.
part, like I try to have like a pretty fleshed out idea to send
Hmm.
it. And I like with Charlie, like I think I sent him a couple, or maybe that was just like the first one, and I had a few others ready, and he was like, "Oh yeah, let's do this. Like let's do
Okay.
this one." So like I already had the more or less the arrangement of the song. It had the guitar, the drums, everything like that. But like that one was a lot slower, and it was missing a lot of like the higher melody parts that are like in the intro, and
Hmm.
a lot of stuff. So like in a way, I guess, yeah, it's kind of, I'm sort of sharing with them like a skeleton of like what the song becomes eventually. And kind of the same with Postcard from Spain with Francis Quinlan on it.
Hmm.
That one started as like a pretty, here's the structure, here's, whatever you need to write to it. And then after the fact, she was super involved with like, oh, can you try like maybe a different bass part here, or like, you know, take the guitar out of here and try something else. Maybe something else would sound better. And I was like super down with that. Like, okay, for sure. And then
Hmm.
it always ended up sounding better, and like stuff that I never would have tried on my own anyway. So that's for sure like the ideal for like collaborating, I think, in general.
Yeah, definitely. You
Mhm.
were talking about how this was an idea, 5 years in the making, but when did you like officially start it? Was it because of COVID? Like because you have all
Uh,
this time on your hands now, or was it already moving prior?
no, maybe for this project, COVID was sort of a nice, helpful thing for me in a way, because I got to
Kind of
like
a
really,
push?
yeah, a little bit. Like I was starting to make all this stuff, like the Hand Habits track, and I think the Claude track probably was already like more or less done before, COVID and everything. Um, but yeah, that definitely accelerated the whole process, and made the other parts hard. Like with the Francis song, I was planning to like go down to Philadelphia and like record with her and make a bunch more,
Mhm.
but that just didn't become possible.
For
So
sure.
we just we made it work, and luckily we had like a mutual engineer that we both used, so she worked with him on that song and to record her part and everything. But yeah, it definitely started like 2-ish years ago, and so it's just been kind of a slow, which is kind of, yeah, like I'm really happy it's finally out, because it's like such a technically small project, but um getting like the nuts and bolts of it figured out kind of took a little while.
Yeah, for sure. What about like with you and me and Fatigue? Tell me about those songs because they're not they don't you don't have like a credited person on the vocal or
Right.
I know you and me is there's a female vocalist on the song.
Yeah, You and Me is Claude. Yeah, their
Oh,
music
okay.
I was already like a big fan of. I sent them like a, a pretty layered like guitar idea. Like I was sort of trying to make like a Taylor or maybe a Taylor Swift or like a Tegan and Sarah type thing, like older,
Sure.
like 2008 era or whatever. And yeah, they're super hands on with the production as well. So the stems that I sent, they actually like stripped them way down, and it was just like, like basically like cut out like half the stuff that I sent, and it sounded like so much better in that way as well. So that was, yeah, like that working in that way is a real I find that a luxury where I can just like send some stems and then they do their thing and send it back, and I kind of tweak it and then make it hopefully as good as you can. But yeah, for that one, it was another one where like at the end of the process, I was like, should I just make it sound like a full band and like do drums and do this and that? But yeah, I remembered like I always wanted to make an acoustic sad song.
Yeah.
And this was sort of like the great, perfect opportunity to do that. So I tried to like restrain. And I think a lot of this project has been like practicing restraint, because a lot of stuff that I've worked on in the past, and I think in electronic in general, it's hard to do that sometimes. It's
kind of like a less is more for this record.
Yeah. Because in general, I think there's always sort of a maximalist approach to like dance music and especially in like EDM stuff. Like it's that's become kind of second nature. So I really wanted to try to go against that and make the drums not sound super hard and like
Sure.
just try to make it sound like a little more organic and sloppy.
Yeah. Are you going to is this a project you're are going to continue with, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's been kind of on my mind every day, more or less, just thinking about what the next steps are. So I definitely want to do kind of a sequel to this one, as well as like my hopes are kind of from the beginning were to just like fully produce other people's stuff with it as well, in this kind of sound. So that's sort of been starting to happen. I've been working with a few different people, as well as with this project, like extending from all the features, like working on more stuff with them as well. So the goal has been as well to make like a full thing with Charlie from Howdy. And we started doing that a bit. So yeah, I'm kind of just seeing where it goes and working with everybody that just like says yes when I hit them up. Pretty much, I try to like immediately swarm them with demos and ideas. So
very cool, very cool. What about performing it? Do you have any have you even thought about that, like a live aspect to
it was
the
like
project?
something I was starting to think about, and then now it's like I don't even know
how you do
what
it.
performing is anymore.
Right. I didn't know if you could have I don't know how you'd even do it because of how the project is set up.
Yeah, in my mind it was like I kind of just love the thought of it just being a recorded project, and maybe something makes sense down the line, but I like just sort of encapsulated this happened at this time, and kind of just a nice like thing to share with people.
Definitely. And to that, like on your Instagram or anything, have you done any of the like live streaming events? Like I've seen photos of you like with guitars and stuff, but I don't know if you've like went live, if that's something you are interested in or
not so much in this sense, like playing guitar and stuff. Just because I don't even know, I'm not like a virtuoso or anything, so I don't feel like it would be like that interesting if it's me by myself. But I've been using like Twitch lately just for more for like DJ sets and like working on music and kind of just like showing people how I do stuff, and like kind of learning how to make all that stuff work as well. Like I didn't think that would be interesting to people before like COVID, but now I think we're all just like sitting at our computers, and it's kind of nice to like share even like mundane stuff.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. People love that, especially Twitch has become such a big thing aside from because it was. I mean, to me, when I heard prior to COVID, I heard Twitch and I just thought of video games, and then now it's like this platform. From what I've been told, I don't really go on it, but like if you go on there, the biggest the biggest like feature of it is the chat. Like, yeah, I guess you can see like what different features they have going on, and like the chat is like massive. So I know a lot of artists are using it.
Yeah, that's definitely the best part. I mean, it's kind of filling that void a little bit of like, in another reality, maybe I would be like playing shows right now and like talking to people after and stuff like that. And
Right.
it feels the closest to that we can probably have right now. And just, feeling connected to, whether it's like 50 or 100 people at a time or whatever, you're just like working on stuff and talking to them. And it's nice to have that real time, like people can just be like, oh, what's that? Or like, if I'm playing music, like, what song is this or whatever. And then I can kind of explain it all like, in real time. That's a nice feeling for sure.
Yeah. And I know your fans have to get a kick out of that, being able to just chat with you like over the computer. Like, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah. That was always something that I wanted more to exist, like in general. I'm surprised it took this long and like something like COVID to happen to really, because I feel like I've always wanted to have more of that, just like casual connection with people that enjoy your music or whatever. So it's nice to see that that's finally like fully taking off.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy to think that maybe, a percentage of the population knew what Zoom was, and now it's like, just as familiar as anything else in the world.
That's just everyone's every day now, pretty much.
Right. It's crazy. It's crazy how they were the ones that kind of became the go-to. That fascinates me as well.
Yeah, poor Skype. I haven't heard about Skype in a long time.
Right. Yeah. What happened? That was like the OG one. It kind of went away.
Yeah. I don't know. RIP if they're dead.
If they're even around anymore. Right on. Thank you, Ryan, so much for talking with me today. I really, really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I have one more question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Man, I would say, that's hard to give one answer, but I would definitely say just, over anything, just like continue with it no matter what. If it feels like it's something that you're thinking about when you go to sleep and wake up to thinking about, then it's probably something that is super important to you. And whether someone like shit talks it or, says something negative about it, you can't let that affect it too much. Cause if it's that important that it's on your mind all day and every day, like it is with mine, there reaches a point, where you're just like, fuck it, this is just part of me. So, yeah.